Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. It is Monday and first day of the week done. All right, another day in the books of this range where you can't short weakness, you can't buy highs, you have to be very specific on everything you're trading, take trades and almost be a surgeon. And we've become accustomed to that somewhat. You know, I still got caught shorting the spiders, I think a few different times, in the first 45 minutes of trading before finally we pop back up and then looked for some relative strength and switch some gears, and now we'll see what's next. You look at the chart here of the SPX, and just another day in the life of this range. I guess you could say it's getting tighter. We can say that there's, a defined floor here, okay? And every time there's been this defined floor, it's been holding. You had a defined floor right there, came below it, couldn't get downside follow through, came back above it. This actually couldn't even get to the defined floor. And then you had this defined floor where you had the red dog reversal before the highs. Okay, but again, we still haven't made much traction. So, not much to say here except for 2102, 2099, here's defined support, and then this is resistance. Doesn't seem like we've been getting going above this, 2120-ish, with the highs at 2134, but we're still in there. Maybe we get another inside day. I don't know how much smaller this range can get. Maybe like right like that, and then at some point it'll have to do something out of the range, but we shall see. You did get a little bit of a lift in the transports, where perhaps this could retrace a little bit to the upside. We were talking about a little bit of, actually in the morning call I talked about how a lot of the transport names, especially the airlines, could not go down with oil strength, so trade long versus this, and if you did so, you had a little bit of a bounce, and I guess there is some kind of room back to the 200-day if it wants to do it. Sometimes it gets up there, sometimes it doesn't, but if you entered today, you have a lower pivot, just treat it as a trade, especially if you were in this and you sold it when it broke all the moving averages right there, or you sold it when it broke the 200-day and couldn't reclaim it. Now you try a little bit. If you remember, one of the things we talked about on Friday was the 2-day move in oil. 2-day move in oil was pretty big. Okay, and right there is when I was like, all right, 2-day move in oil and the airlines are not going down. So maybe they could bounce. So this morning in the morning call we talked about United clearing the lower pivot, and it did. So some of you were long from Friday. If so, great. If not, I think you had a little bit of time to grab it above this, and now we'll see what happens at the 200-day. Delta probably already reclaimed its 200-day. Yes, it did, and it's back above it. So it's kind of back in this range. So if people short United Airlines saying, oh, well, Delta's back above it, maybe it gets up there to test it, we'll see. But here's your day-and-a-half trade. You saw a divergence on Friday with oil, and that's, as a technical trader, what you have to do if you wanted to be in the airlines. It was the full opposite here. A lot of people were playing this for, some type of positive action as it flagged above this resistance, and then all of a sudden oil was getting crushed, and so did the airlines. So that told you it wasn't ready to break out before that big down move. And then anyway, if you're trading these things with micro tactics, you have to look at that. Okay. One other airline, let's go American Airlines, probably looks the same. Cleared this lower pivot, not a swing trade, not an investment, not whatever, but a move, day-and-a-half move. You have to look for those day-and-a-half moves when these stocks are in these micro ranges. And now you'll see what happens here at the 200-day. While we're talking about 200 days, let me just talk about the TLTs real quick, because talked about how will they be treated at the 200-day. Will they be rejected, or will it be reclaimed? TLTs were rejected again at the 200-day. So if you got short on Friday like Sperling, you got a little downside. So now you'll see what's next with the TLTs. TLTs, came in here, see if they go a little sideways and hold this small little breakout zone. And if so, maybe it could try again, but has to pretty much hold this, otherwise it's right back down into this area. Again, this was when it broke the 8-day, this is when it broke the intermediate trend and tested it, and then boom, broke the 200-day, tested it there, and still, not finding a friend. And when that's happening, usually the banks are sort of strong. Goldman Sachs still hugging and, above the 8-day, very strong. Citigroup was upgraded by Goldman. I actually bought it on the pullback, and I'm wondering, I don't like playing Goldman upgrades because chances are they usually, don't give out free lunches. But anyway, we'll see what happens within this wedge. I did buy a little bit and it closed pretty poor. So we'll see what happens tomorrow with it. If this was the high of this of the week, I'm gonna friggin' call some friends at Goldman Sachs and be like, "What's up?" No, well, because I've seen this before anyway. So we'll see what happens into this. J.P. Morgan, what are you doing? Yeah, same thing with J.P. Morgan. Top and tail, closed off highs. So, still above the 21-day. If you're still in this, I'd give it to that. It's been playing around the 8-day. So the banks are getting a little choppier. And then you go to high beta names. Still not much traction. You had the reversal in NFLX on Friday that gave you 5-6 points to the downside. If you do short stocks, because some people do, on a red dog reversal this way. Okay, right? False breakout. False breakout usually leads to some trapped longs and you get some downside follow through. So here you had your false breakout and it came in and tested the 8-day and bounced. But it did go as low as 615.50. We talked about that as support in the VTF. And from the failure here at 629 to 615, that's $9. And $9 is something to make and do, or a piece of that, while it's doing it. While it's in this little trend, you could put a 3-minute, 15-minute chart, whatever. Go to the 5-minute to see what happened there. It put a low in, okay, here. Look at it. Actually, you can even see it. Put the low in, boom, sliced through the prior low from Friday with a gap, had some power. Then you had your lower pivot. Was it going to be a bear flag continuation lower, or was it going to retrace higher? And it broke above it, so that could have been your cover. And then, slowly in grinding fashion came back up. So if you're looking for a long entry, if you sold it on that break, the false breakout when it didn't work, maybe you got in here. And now we'll see what's next. Amazon is still driving some people crazy. It still looks good on a macro basis, but all this intraday failing, is definitely driving people a little batty. Here's your range, still very tight. I guess if the market's ready to do something really compelling, this would be a go along for the ride, considering you have a big gap here after earnings. I think because it's such an expensive stock that it's hard for traders to sink their teeth into, so it doesn't do as well. But maybe if they came out with a 3-for-1 stock split or something, it could do better. But you can't trade it for that right now. All you know is you have today's high, 433, and then there's 436, and we'll see what's next. Still above the 8 and 21-day, so still in the game. Apple. I actually made a little bit of money shorted in the first little bit, in the first half an hour, and now I'm long it, and we'll see what happens here. Still, tugging the 8-day a little bit above the 21-day, getting very tight. Did not show relative strength today at all. I'm in some, and we'll see what happens. This range has been monotonous. I usually get trapped or chopped up when things happen like that. This was a nice little trade here when got a swing trade. You had a little bit of a move, and it digested, another move, digested, cleared, and then this move got me a little flexible again, and now it's really, it's definitely neutral to positive above all the moving averages, but it's really not doing a heck of a lot where you could be sinking your teeth in here, so you have to wait. BABA was a targeted play. I think people finally made some money there buying the dip after a multi-sessions to the downside. You had your breaking of the descending channel there, nice sideways move, broke above that for that trade. Red dog reversal could have got you out, and really what it did is it kind of came back and retested. Some people were like, oh, it came back too much, which, from here to here. But if you look from where it really came from, down here to there, it held the top third. So I'm in some, and perhaps there is another trade here if it clears this 91.50 at some point. You could be long versus this while the moving averages play catch up, and maybe you get another trade. Facebook gave you a nice red dog reversal today. So we've seen this before, so you can't get too excited. But here is the red dog reversal around the pivot. The pivot was right there. That was 78.88. I think I went over that in the morning call. Actually closed above a prior high, showing a little bit of power. Okay, so if you're long this, I'm long a little bit. Didn't have great prices today. Maybe at some point it tries to clear this again, or we just keep getting this inside choppy nothing. But when I see something like this, sometimes I go with it. We've seen it before where you do get some kind of continuation. We just haven't had a continuation in a while. LinkedIn gave some guys a trade where it finally, broke above this lower pivot, pulled in a little bit, but if you're still in it, at least it's giving you some kind of signal that perhaps you could see a little bit better action. This is where the gap starts. Here is somewhat of a day one. Let's see if there's volume attached to it. I think Sperling caught it pretty well. Little volume, not extreme, but a little bit more volume than you've seen here. So maybe it tries to retrace up. There was some activist talk. I don't know if that's the only reason why it was up, but at least something to grow on or go on. What did Twitter do today? I don't think it did much. I didn't hear much about it. Still just down here in this lethargic nothing range. No volume coming in whatsoever. At some point, I guess, they'll talk about deals and this and that, and, ooh, I got to remove this. Remove. Okay, and here we are. I guess until you get some kind of really, really huge volume spike to clear this, it's just going to be getting tighter and tighter. And I think, there's an identity crisis in Twitter. You have Periscope, which is new, and you have a lot of people using it, et cetera, et cetera. But, earnings weren't great, and now it's down here. I don't think there's really going to be a takeover of this stock anytime soon. So it's lost its narrative. It's broken technically, and just got to wait for this to get cleared to the upside with some kind of crazy volume. If you want to be in small, but it's got to hold this area. Otherwise, it could be in a little bit of trouble. That's really it. I guess you could, by the sound of my energy, you could tell that it's not been an easy tape, especially for guys looking for momentum. Even from the short side, I know a lot of guys were trying to short today. It looked as if we could have broken down, and then right where you're shorting is the place to buy, and then all of a sudden, what was it, 2 o'clock, looked like we were back above 212 in the spiders, looked as if maybe we could start clearing this spot, and that's when we came in the last 20 minutes, half hour came in more. So that's what we're seeing. You're seeing some small specific action that you could focus on. Some of these red dog reversals, even like Facebook, that was a big trade. It was down 30 cents, went through the price point, and went another $1. There you go. If you find one of those a day, keeps the wife away. No, I'm kidding. Or the bill doctor away. And then if you find a few of them with better action, and then you're putting together a day, a week, and a month. We used to get a lot of them. And then all of a sudden we used to get these breakout trades that, tight range, breakout, get your day one, get your day two, sell day three, flag again, go. We haven't seen a lot of that in a long time. So it is what it is. We trade the market in front of us, not the one that we want. And I've been trying to be flexible. I'm actually trying to be short too. Everyone's like, Red Dog, you're a perma bull. I'm really not. I'm just, I'm a perma trend. And when there's no trend, it makes it hard. Yes, I feel more comfortable long. I like to trade names that are liquid and thick, and you can take size or do whatever you want with comfortably, but those aren't working either. So until that happens, I guess I'm just going to try and keep my risk down, low gross, low net, until there is more clarity, and I'm going to try and stay prepared and write my note and put it out to everyone who subscribes to Redler All Access so they can be prepared with price points and pivots so they can be safe. So if you're on the wrong side of the market, you know where you got to cover. If you're on the right side, you know where we can go to, maybe where we could add, and have all these if-thens in front of you, and then when the market confirms it, you get to work. And as right now, we'll see what happens. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow morning.